Test, test.
Oh, okay.
One more time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One more time. Welcome to Court Reporter Confidential.
A place to talk about all things court reporting, including industry news, technology, best practices, and personal experiences from professionals in the field. Hey guys, welcome back to Court Reporter Confidential. I am with my dear good friend, Molly Cooper.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
I am very happy you accepted my offer and took a day off and willing to join me. I'm very, very excited.
I couldn't resist.
Yes. So I wanted to just have a little court reporter chit chat about your experience so far. So you've been a reporter for how long in California?
Just over 5 years now.
Has it been 5 years? Wow.
I know. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. 5 years in May.
And I can't remember how we initially met. I know that you sat out with me for your apprenticeship hours, right? But
Yes. That's a good question. It might have been at South Coast College.
Oh, yes.
When maybe you came to speak to students. I don't remember the actual first time. I just feel like I've always known you since I was a student.
I feel the same.
Yeah, and then I sat out with you obnoxiously.
No. I feel like I hit the jackpot meeting you. It was great. I was like, she's something special.
That's how I
excited.
felt too.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice.
Now we're friends and on a board together for our state association, but we can talk about that more later. So you've been reporting for just over 5 years. Wow. Okay, so I'm at 20, you're at 5. So we have different perspectives, which I wanted to hit on.
Yes.
What brought you into court reporting or introduced you to the field originally?
Well, my background is in language. I have a bachelor's in linguistics from UC Santa Cruz. Go Banana Slugs. So I took that bachelor's and I traveled and I taught English as a second language for a few years. Yeah. But I had always heard of stenography kind of in tandem with linguistics as something that I could do as a career with my linguistics major. Not that it was required, just they were all kind of in the same realm together.
Totally.
And in college, it was just kind of another big word. Most people don't know what linguistics means. I didn't really know what stenography meant. But it was kind of in the background of my brain. And then cut to, I was teaching English as a second language back in California and just kind of ready for a new challenge or a new career. I never planned on teaching to be my forever job. It was more for helping myself become bilingual and live in Spanish-speaking countries. And, language has always kind of been my drive. So long story short, I was chatting with someone in paralegal school. And after, 30 minutes or so of conversation and talking about what they do, he planted the seed and said, I bet you'd be a good court reporter, given your background and, this conversation and what he knew about it. So I Googled it, and South Coast College was less than 10 miles away in Orange. And the day that I could start their next semester was the day that my teaching job next semester would begin. So I could leave my teaching job and start at a new school as a student rather than start the next semester continuing to teach somewhere where I felt that I had outgrown. So the rest is kind of history. I sat down in day one and learned about, how the steno machine works, and it's a little bit phonetic and a little bit syllabic and all this stuff that I had learned about in college getting my linguistics degree, and it all just kind of came full circle, and I never looked back.
That's super cool. I'm so glad he mentioned that to you.
I know.
I feel the same way when my great aunt, when I randomly asked her at a family function, like, what do you do? And she said, court reporter. I'd never heard of it before. I was a senior in high school. And I was just so grateful that someone dropped that in my lap. And so I'm trying to get the word out, right? We all are now because we have a little bit of a shortage of reporters these days. And so we're trying to get the word out. So hopefully this meets an audience or finds people that are considering it, because you obviously love it.
I do love it.
I do too. It sounds like it would be, a boring or like nerdy or strange career, but it is so cool. I love it.
I think so too.
Fascinating. And anyway, I digress. But so it came pretty naturally to you because of your background, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I realized that learning steno is just learning another language. It's machine shorthand. So we have voice writers as well that do court reporting, but the machine specific and the way it all works and is broken down was fascinating to me. And because I had studied the science of language and looking at English and breaking down word parts and sounds and sentence structure, in addition to studying multiple other languages in school. I wouldn't say I became fluent in everything I studied, but just kind of understanding the overall language structures and the universals and et cetera, et cetera. I kind of had that framework in my brain that when I saw steno, it all clicked into place and there was a method to the madness. And sure, all of a sudden H and R is now the letter L, which is also the word will, and that's kind of crazy. And how do you learn to read letters as a new letter? And conceptually, that sounds wild, but I could see the big picture, and it's just a matter of training and practice, just like with any other language.
Well, and for you, you had already expanded your concept of what language was, right?
Exactly.
Versus if we only, like I guess I know Spanish okay, but you probably, it wasn't a huge stretch to say, oh, that could be a whole other sound or a whole other word. It's like, okay, it's a rule in this language. And so you just were able to accept it. And
yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
I don't know. Now that you talk about it, and it's funny because I never truly knew what linguistics meant. I knew language, but I didn't understand all the breakdown until I sat in your seminar recently.
Oh, I'm so glad that you got to learn.
Amazing. She gave a great seminar.
Oh, thank you.
It was very, very cool. But anyway, yeah. So you went through school really quickly, yes?
Yes. Yeah. I started court reporting school, and everyone said it takes about 2 years at the fastest. And my inner dialogue was, all right, game on. What's the record though? And I qualified to take the state exam in 1 year and 1 month. So I was technically done with school at that point, but it took another 3 or 4 months of waiting, to take the exam and all that jazz. Right. So it was about 1.5 years from day one of school to my first depo, but just about 1 year of the steno machine and speed building.
So I have to tell you a little secret. So I was hot stuff at the school back when I was there, and we were like the first few that went through school so fast, and we did it in 2 years. And everyone's like, wow, you did it in 2 years, because really it's kind of a 3-year program. And so we were like, yeah, we did it in 2 years. And then I hear about this Mali person going through in 1 year. I was like, what? You blew my record out. Whatever.
That was the goal. I think someone has broken my record now since, to
Seriously?
be fair. Yeah, I think someone cut in just under, which might have to do with calendars and Christmas breaks and things, but
Totally. It has to be.
No, I'm happy to be beat though. I think the more people we can get into this, the better. And I think it does go to show some brains just sort of click,
Totally.
Some
and your
people,
experience level. I mean,
yeah.
You already had a brain, I feel like, that was primed for it. For me, I think what helped is I played an instrument. I played piano, and it's very similar to all the chords. And so physically, I feel like maybe not the language piece of it, but physically I was ready.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because you're not used to having to move your fingers like that and articulate them. I remember my hands being sore at the end of school multiple times. And you probably were already used to that kind of thing.
Yeah. Interesting.
Love it.
Well, let's see what we have next. So you've been reporting for just over 5 years. What kinds of cases and kinds of depots have you taken? Have you kind of stuck to the more easy, or have you kind of seen the gamut at this point?
I feel like I have done a little bit of everything. I'm sure there's some complex high level I have not yet gotten up to, like a big asbestos case with 20 attorneys or, there's always higher to go and bigger cases to be on. But early on, even as a new reporter, I wanted to just kind of dive in and get my feet wet and not limit myself to just one type of case, if you will. So the majority have probably been personal injury and car accident and things like that. But I do really like taking doctors as well. And back doctor experts, I think, are interesting. And once you know the anatomy of the back and spine, excuse me, it makes it a little less scary going into it, because you never know what specialty other MDs or something will be. So I love doing family law. That one can have its ups and downs, but it's really interesting. And I've also learned there's a lot of business and numbers that are part of family law.
Yes.
Which of course I've done business litigation as well. So I don't know if I have a favorite or specialty. I try to kind of mix it up and take all of those types of jobs, weekly or monthly.
Yeah. So you try not to limit yourself too much.
Yeah. I don't want to just be in one little box.
Yeah. I think as freelance reporters, often we like the variety.
Definitely.
But some just have their niche and they are like, I like, work comp doctors, and that's it. And they just take those continually, and they're probably amazing at it and have all the briefs and everything. But Yeah, I like the variety as well. I tried to be the yes girl in the beginning, you know. I mean, within reason, without overdoing it and committing myself to something I wasn't ready for. But yeah, I am a big believer in agreeing to jobs, even if it may not be the most attractive or you don't think it's going to be a good one, a fun one, an easy one, whatever. And you never know. Like sometimes the little dinky, silly things turn into big, important. You know, like I went to a hearing the other day and thinking, oh, it's just going to be 1 hour, no big deal, and it ended up being a really important hearing, and I was so glad I went. And so yeah, you just never know.
It's so true. I had a job, I think last year, that ended up being just a telephonic hearing, and it somehow me and another reporter were both on the line, and it turned out I had booked the job earlier, so I stuck with it. But I remember thinking, oh, I'd be happy to let you have a telephonic hearing where I don't know any faces or you know whose voice is whose, and it kind of freaked me out. And then it turns out I was familiar with at least one of the attorneys on this case, so I knew that voice. And then the case kept on meeting and kept on meeting and kept on meeting with their I don't know if he was an arbitrator, but it was a very complex case that had different specific people they had to meet with, you know, evidence referees and whatnot. And they wanted the same reporter for continuity because it was such a complex case. So if I hadn't happened to land that scary telephonic hearing, which also was very short that first day, then I wouldn't have gotten, you know, a job a month for the next 6 months, basically. And I really learned a lot from that case as well, just with how things run and how the two sides and third-party people that come in and how they have to work with the judge and how different things are set. So that gave me a good perspective as well for the depo world and just a better understanding.
Because in depositions, we usually just hear one very specific testimony from one witness in a snapshot in time. But yeah, when you get on an arbitration or a trial or something that's ongoing, it is cool to see it from start to finish and all the changes it can take. And it's fun.
Yeah, you see how the sausage kind of gets made behind the scenes, you know?
Yes.
Which you wouldn't be privy to as even a jury person or just a lay person. You know, we get to be flies on the wall in these very particular, you know, protected legal proceedings, which is pretty cool.
So quick question. So when you started reporting, you started off as a freelancer. You've never worked in court, just to be clear.
Correct, yes.
Well, not in court as an
official
reporter employed by the courts. But how did you get your first job, and how would you recommend going about that and working with various agencies, freelance? How do you navigate that?
That's a good question. Yeah, there's definitely a big learning curve when you first start because school focuses on your skill and being able to write or speak shorthand, right? And make a transcript. And then there's all of the other facets that come with it of being your own business and having to create relationships with agencies and book jobs and things. So it kind of worked out with you, as we talked about before. I sat out with you a lot and shadowed not just what was required to get my license, but in the month or two that I was waiting to hear back that I had passed my licensing exam, that's when I sat out with you the most because I really didn't need to be in school anymore. And those classes were helpful. Speed building was still helpful. I would still go. But if there was a job I could shadow you instead, that's what I needed to learn more. So that was just kind of a natural progression then to take my first job since you own Regal. It gave me a lot of peace of mind knowing that if I had questions or wasn't sure how to handle something in the transcript, I knew I could ask you and that the answer you gave me meant that the transcript would be acceptable. Because maybe you have a mentor and they would handle it one way and then turns out the agency, when you turn it in, has a different preference. You know, I don't know the odds of that happening or not, but not knowing anything, it gave me a lot of peace of mind knowing that you knew I was new and you knew your client, so you would send me on a job that I wasn't totally out of my depth. And then on the back end too, it was helpful to get the transcript made. So I think as far as advice for other people, I know not everyone can glom on to a particular agency owner or, you know, it kind of just worked out, I think, good timing with us.
Right.
But definitely shadowing as much as you can, being involved in your associations, your local state association, especially. The national one is great, but the local one can give you actual connections with people. So, because you never know who is going to end up being a resource or who is going to be a connection to a job. So I'd say that talking to as many reporters, whether they're new reporters or agency owners as you can, and then kind of following their lead or where they guide you. And then send the email. If you're a new reporter, don't be shy to reach out or send multiple emails. We're all busy and depots change daily. You know, what I have booked is probably not what I'm actually going to end up working 2 weeks from now.
Right.
So just constant communication and asking and just kind of getting your foot in that door, and then the rest will sort of start flowing.
Now, do you only work for Regal?
I do not. I call Regal kind of my home base, if you will, or my main agency, but there's probably at least 5 I work with in any given month. 3 to 5. It depends. Things can cancel. But yeah, there's probably up to 10 that I have worked with or will work with, you know, generally speaking. And then it depends on the month or the weeks or what my availability is looking like.
So you don't limit yourself necessarily. Would you consider, how selective do you think you are? And maybe part of it is because of the reputation an agency has or what they stand for, or part of it may just be you don't want to work for 20 or 30 different agencies and have that logistical nightmare. I don't know what your mental process is when deciding to accept work from someone.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of both. You hit on 2 of them. Okay. Just for simplicity, yeah, I do know reporters who work for 40 or 50 agencies. Whew. I guess why not? But for simplicity, I don't really feel the need to be so spread out or work with so many. And I am particular in who I'll work with in that I'll only work for a CSR-owned agency. I usually prefer to know that CSR or to have a friend who knows them, you know, word of mouth with trusted colleagues. So as far as that, the type of business or, you know, the ownership structure that I want to support. And I've compared it to just as a consumer, if you'd rather buy something for cheaper at Walmart or go to the mom and pop store because you want to support your local businesses, even if maybe their overhead is different and they can't sell something as cheap as Walmart. There's different ethics that go into being your own business as well as the businesses you work with or are a consumer at, and all of that stuff that I didn't think about before diving into this and I hadn't taken into account. So those are really the things that I consider when working with a new agency. Yeah. And then second to that is what are their clients like? Or wow, the attorney on that job was really rude. Is every client like that? And I'll keep that in the back of my mind because you see some patterns there sometimes. But you never really know what attorneys will do. So you can't base it just off of that.
No, that's a really good point, though. I have been told by a lot of our reporters that you guys have the nicest clients. You guys have
they are lovely.
I don't know why that is. I feel like the jerks don't do well with us. Like, I don't know, we don't tolerate a lot of that, or I don't know, cater to them in maybe a way that a corporate would. I don't know the answer to that, but it is interesting that we tend to attract certain types of personalities. And so that is really nice to know. I mean, I can't guarantee. We've had a couple doozies, but
you can't speak for all attorneys all the time, of course.
But for the most part, I'm glad you brought that up because I do like our client base typically.
Yeah, it's an attorney can be however they need to be on the record, but off the record, just with the court reporter, like that says a lot to me. You know, when they're being a fierce advocator or have whatever strategy on the record, that's got nothing to do with me. You know, if they're yelling at someone else or whatever happens.
And sometimes that's fun to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, sometimes it's entertaining. Sometimes it's stressful. It really depends. There's some attorneys that I know get sassy, but I love them. So I don't mind it, you know? And other attorneys, if they're just rude all day long and have terrible energy and pay no attention to me, then their bad attitude on the record also makes me not like want to work with them. It balances out if they're professional and courteous off the record because they understand, you know, I have nothing to do with the job they're doing on the record, you know? So that makes a big difference. Yeah. And it actually wasn't until I started branching out and working for more agencies that I realized, okay, some of them do work with the feistier or more aggressive attorneys or just happen to have that client base or who knows how it works out, kind of like you said.
Right.
But yeah, it's something that I keep in mind or like to subtly pay attention to when I take multiple jobs with a newer or with an agency for the first time.
Because truly, it really does affect us. I mean, we're subjected to an energy, like you said, all day long. And so, yeah, I would much prefer to work with someone that is respectful or
pleasant,
professional. Yeah.
At least for the first half of the day. If you go after 5, who knows?
then I might not be so pleasant either.
Yes. Everyone hits walls.
But it's true, because
Yeah.
if you're with that kind of a client 5 days a week, that would be draining. Yeah.
Mhm.
So once in a while you could tolerate, but yeah.
Yeah. I feel like everything, you sprinkle everything in, especially being freelance.
True.
You know?
You
Yeah.
can't control much.
You cannot. Which is the worst and best part of the job.
True.
Sometimes when I zoom out, I think if someone just told me in black and white, you know, you wouldn't have the same day 2 days in a row. I think, wow, is that something I would want? Like, in theory, I think I would assume I would want something more steady. But in the actuality of it, I've found steadiness in the unpredictable, if that makes sense.
Oh,
So I can control certain parts about my schedule and the days that I take depots, but then I can't control if they want that expedited or a rough draft or how it feeds into my Saturday night plans or something. Like, there's things you can control and things that you can't, but I've learned to embrace that and enjoy that. And when you're free, you are free. And the very next day, you could have 300 pages that they want ASAP. And then you're not leaving your editing cave for 10 hours, you know? But I like that balance, because overall, it balances, use the word balance again.
Yeah.
I like that because it balances everything out as opposed to being monotonous.
Yeah. I get tired of the monotony for sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine being somewhere at 9
Well,
every single day.
The really good thing is, if you have a bad day or a bad client, like we were talking about, somebody who, you know, is just negative, you don't have to do it again.
Nope.
You can be like, bye.
Don't want to work with you.
I don't want to
thank
work
you.
with you anymore. And you do have that bit of control, which is nice.
Yeah.
What types of jobs you take.
Yes.
I
I love when they're like, maybe we'll have you back for volume 2. And you're like, oh, maybe. We'll see about my schedule.
And then you go immediately, I do not want to take volume 2.
Exactly. No, thank you. They requested me, but no, thank you. But they never have to know that, right? So
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Put a smile on. And I had a question and it just went out my head about, tell me about how much control you have over your schedule. I want to know, as a freelance, how do you set boundaries for your own personal space and schedule and all that? Tell
and
me.
keep the balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it works really well for me because I don't do well when I get overwhelmed or feel really under pressure, which, of course, we have expedites and deadlines, and there is a certain amount you can't control. But I like that when and how and where I edit and work on the transcript is all in my control. And that gives me a sense of calm and confidence in general in my life, that I can work till midnight or I can wake up at 5 a.m. I can do what serves me the best. And you kind of, I guess I've just learned you turn that off and on, because it's the total opposite when you're on the record. And of course you can anticipate or ask for a bathroom break if it's been an hour and a half or, what have you. But generally speaking, I look at that as not my time, right? Someone else is there to get information. Someone else is responsible for answering and having that information. And I'm just there to document it, right? And to take down what's happening. So it's not about me in that moment. I kind of give up expecting a lot of control, aside from, I need to eat at some point, or the basic human level, right? I don't look at that as something that I'm in charge of. But then once we're off the record, it's all me. And I can literally do it when I want to do it within the time frame or, the deadline. But I can't get over how much I love that. It reminds me of being a student. And I was always really scholastic. I just always did really well in school. My mom's a teacher. I became a teacher. School isn't for everyone, but I like it. Give me a direct, like A to B equals C, and then, we'll give you a good check mark. That's so satisfying to me. I've always enjoyed following the rules, if you will. So all of that kind of lends itself well to me doing this job. And I know I can trust my own time management and, working on transcripts, and that gives me control.
Which is a huge part of our job.
Time management, yeah.
And knowing how to deliver when you said you're going to, and all that, being reliable.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think in the very beginning, it was hard because I had no basis.
Of course.
Right? And of course, it's going to take you longer to proofread and edit. And I didn't use a scopist at the time.
Yeah.
So the first month or two, it was hard on levels I couldn't anticipate because I hadn't felt so out of my depth. Because in school, for example, or I had worked at Chipotle before, and you know how long it takes you to do something. Oh, I can whip up that guac in 20 minutes. Or, oh, I have an essay due, but I'm going to, hang out with my friends because because it's college and I know I can bust it out in 2 hours or
Because
whatever.
you've done it before.
You've done it. Yeah, you have a
Yeah.
baseline. And so the first month or so without having that was stressful. So I think start slow and don't take too many depots at once.
Yeah.
Whereas I was excited and just dove right in. And everything got done. But that's when I realized how valuable it was having that baseline and knowing how you work and how much time it takes, or this witness today or this job today or that accent, it's going to take me longer to proofread this one. Or, wow, all they said was yes and no for 50 pages straight. That's going to be really quick to proofread. Like having that sort of information, I think, is what makes me feel so equipped now to be in control and know how to schedule myself.
Well, I have to say, as an agency who offers you work, I am impressed, even though it's sometimes disappointing, that you do set boundaries for yourself. When you know I'm at my limit, I can't take that. Sorry. I can't do that. Even though I know how desperate you are tomorrow to get this job covered, I can't help you tomorrow. And you're good about, for your own sake, drawing those lines where you need to.
Yeah.
I can tell you do.
And it's hard to say no sometimes, but I appreciate hearing that because I know, like, literally even since kindergarten, like if I get too overwhelmed, nothing will happen. Like I'll shut down, So it's like
not good for anyone.
It's not good for anyone. Yeah. So it's my own like mental health as well as the integrity of the work we do.
Right.
Like sometimes it just can't happen, And it can be hard to say no, but I think this job has also taught me. Actually, the Olsen twins have said this. No is a full sentence.
Ooh.
You don't have to qualify why it's, well, I can't do it because I'm so busy and I have this, just, no, I'm not available, has become one of my favorite things to say. And, maybe if I know the agency or I'll offer a little more or be more apologetic, but just, no, I can't, is really empowering. And if you're good at knowing your own limits or time management or whatnot and knowing when to say no, that's really helpful.
So it seems like, and based on our conversations in the past, that it's been a fairly easy road for you. Like school was fairly easy, right? And you've navigated your way through your first 5 years, which is great. Have you experienced any challenges, or do you have any little hurdles you're still working on?
Always. I will say it's been pretty fluid. I've definitely worked really hard, but it's come
of course. I didn't mean to imply.
I know you weren't, but it has
may have come out wrong.
No, it's okay. It has come quite naturally to me. I'll definitely say that.
And I feel the same way about myself. So I feel like we're similar in that way, which has been nice.
Yeah, I think in any field, some people just click or pick certain things up faster. But so I feel like the next frontier or the main thing that I have been scared to enter into, as opposed to everything else, I've just jumped right in. Give me an expert. That's fine. I'll take an all day, in month 1. But it's doing real time. And it's basically, you're providing live captioning to people in the room. So they see your naked writing and all of the mistakes and my little notes to self of, double check that. Or, I know I might have fudged that up, or there's a typo there. And it was scary enough for me to work with a scopist, which is basically just a proofreader that sees my raw file, right? And their job is to make me look better. And all they do is work with raw transcripts and clean them up. So imagining an attorney seeing that, who expects it to all be perfect, it freaks me out on the mental level. It's like a whole nother level of work. And then on the more practical level, I really haven't wanted to start it until I felt like my skill was good enough. Look, I don't want to make the field look bad. But then it's also, how do you actually know when you're good enough or when you're ready, or how clean are other people writing? It's hard to know when to take that next step. So that's kind of where I've been flirting with.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We don't know how to compare ourselves to others. We work alone. It's tricky because unless you were to sit out with me and literally compare our screens, you have no way of knowing, And so it is a lot. It's confidence based because a lot of it is very subjective. So you might say, what is your untranslate rate, like based on how many errors you have versus perfect writing. And some people could say, I had 1% untranslate, so I'm 99% accurate today. Great. But maybe that was an easy car accident versus, I'm in a doctor depot or a really fast speaker. So it is all very subjective. And there are some days that, even the best writers, it's awful. Like you're getting crappy real time because that's just how it's coming out. So it is definitely based on confidence level, I think. And I think I was naive enough
To think
when
you
I
were- you could do
started
it.
where I was always really clean. I was never the
were.
fastest one. Like I think you were faster than me.
But not as clean. So
Right. So that was
yeah.
my strength, the clean writing where I'm like, I will go back and risk dropping something in the future to get it clean because I'm so anal retentive about my clean writing. So that wasn't my scary. My
Yeah.
scary is the fast or the dropping and all that. So so I jumped in much earlier, but I think just because I thought, well, I had this kind of confidence. My
Might as
daughter
well.
has the same thing. She's like confident, like I could do that. And I watch her do it. I'm like, really? Can you?
My sister
Good
has
for
that too. I'll never forget my sister said, how did she say it? To her, it was just so obvious. And to me, it was mind blowing. But she was like, well, if I'm trying something new that I've never done before, then like I just assume I'm going to be great at it because there's no track record to tell me I'm going to be bad. Which
Yes.
like blew my mind. The sheer like boldness and confidence of that, which I think kind of even speaks to I was talking about when I started working and I didn't know how long anything would take me. I tried to approach it with her attitude of just, well, I'm going to be great. I don't know either way. So in real life, it's just going to go well.
And then you go, whoops, that took a lot longer than I expected. Maybe I don't do that again.
Yeah, how many hours has it been that I haven't stood up, But yeah, to go back to what we were talking about in real time and the skill, there is a lot of fake it till you make it. But then how do you fake it when they're seeing the screen?
This is true. And I wanted to bring that up and have you speak candidly.
Yeah.
Because it is nice probably for a lot of reporters listening to this who already know you and really respect how well you've done and or just already have their own insecurities and they hear someone who's been great at everything and they're, you're not perfect. Like me, just kidding. Far from. But it is good to hear that we have weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses and challenges, and we're scared to jump into it. So it's good. And real-time is one of those that most people, I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's got to be less than 10% of people that offer real-time, So
Probably.
you are in the majority for sure. So I wanted to talk about it because I think it's scary for everybody or most everyone, the non-naive folks.
Maybe a bit of naivete is good for us.
Yeah, I don't know. So I just wanted to mention it. And I had heard, when I started, I had heard that if your untranslate rate is about 1%, that was a good kind of barometer. But like I said, every depot is really different.
Mm-hmm.
And 1% for like an easier one. And I think I forget what the number was. Someone said like 3% for an expert, or I honestly don't remember. But
Interesting.
But it's good to hear like some kind of barometer and what's another word for barometer? I keep saying that, but
Something to compare it to, or even just
like
a rubric, maybe?
Yeah, a concrete number, a standard, goal for ourselves. So I did want to talk about it. And, I recently did some training with a gal named Anissa.
Yes.
And she, I don't know how long she's been doing it, but she's an excellent coach and in helping clean out your dictionary and really fine tune. Because I feel like I do decent real time, but man, there's still so much room for improvement. So
Always.
that's what keeps me interested in my days, my boring days. I'm like, oh, how can I do this better? But she has really helped me fine tune my real time, and so I think she could help you or anybody else who is vacillating and close to maybe making the jump. Yeah,
I think that's something worth looking into. I will say, even though I don't feel ready to do it, it's something that's I think about every job for the last year or two, and I'm always real timing to myself, and I always am watching my untranslate rate, and so it is something that I feel like I'm building towards or have in mind as I'm, just generally growing.
It's your goal.
Yeah, exactly. It's still a goal I'm working towards. I've just let go of there being, I guess, a particular deadline. Like when I first started working, I told myself 3 years I would go real time.
Okay.
And then year 3 came and I was like, what was I thinking? But now in year 5, I can tell I write significantly more clean than I did 3 years ago, especially than year 1. So it's cool just to see the natural improvement and progression just from doing the job every day, you know? And
you're entering more words in your dictionary every day. You're
yes, and learning, and entering words with punctuation, like learning. So it's hearing new words and new vocabulary, and also the same words you've always heard, but tweaking how you write it, or you know, okay with the period, or I mean with commas around it. You know, if I have a different stroke for it. So things like that, I think, have been slowly but surely helping my untranslate rate, and my goal has been to be under 1% of untranslates for every job. And I'd say like 3 to 6 months ago, I broke into that finally. Ooh. I was always at like 1.6 or something, and now I'm often under 1%, depending on the job. But then sometimes I have untranslates on purpose, you know, or like it's a name that I've never heard. It's a weird last name, and so some of the syllables didn't translate. So you see that on the number, but I didn't actually get it wrong, you know what I mean? It was like the last name was like Peligulos or Pelagoulos, and they were discussing which way to pronounce it. And so I stroked it out phonetically and however many syllables that is, but I don't know, it didn't come up like properly on my in my real time to myself. And the other thing I'll say that I've done is learning how to edit from my machine.
Girl, I don't even do that.
I only know how to do 2 tricks, but that's one of the things I've seen, like the pros and the veterans that do real time. Yes. You guys can finger spell and make dictionary entries and all that stuff from your machine.
Super cool.
So I've learned 2 tricks and I feel like Superwoman. And I can fix my last untranslate. Wow. And I can delete the last untranslate just with strokes from my machine. So then I think to myself, well, if my untranslate rate is 0.8 or, you know, almost above 1%, but I fixed some of those already, right? Yes. So maybe whoever's reading my real time is actually getting a cleaner transcript than what that number is telling me. I think Anissa's talked about this too in seminars where, just how really do you get a grip on how good your writing is and what is that number maybe omitting, you know?
Right.
So it's something I'm always paying attention to. I've bought an iPad for when the time comes. Nice. And I work with a Scopus now, which took a while to build and find, but I think it's been over a year now that I send her everything. So I want the infrastructure to be there once I feel like my skill and confidence have reached the level that I'm ready to dive in.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, attorneys do not expect perfection. But
which
it
is good
still,
to know.
I know, but it's still scary. And most of them don't even look at it. So much so that I'm like, hey, look at your screen. This is bomb. Real time.
Be impressed.
Pay attention. Be impressed. Exactly. But then when I'm doing crappy, I'm like, oh, good thing he's not looking. Because I'm like, that did not translate. So, but most of the time they don't. It's very rare. I do have one attorney who is very hard of hearing. He's getting up there in years and he relies on it. He like reads it the whole time. I'm like, oh boy, I better make sure this is coming across. The real bad ones are when it like profanity comes through or some inappropriate word. Okay, girl, I was writing country, country. And I'm like, what am I doing? I am just asking for trouble if this does not translate perfectly. So I started just doing kun for my country. I'm like, why am I doing that to myself?
That's
and
a
then
good point.
ass comes up a lot because it'll be like a middle syllable, like something asbestos or whatever. And it doesn't translate. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. You know, hope no one's offended by this. I did not mean that. So
I have heard actually a real-time reporter give the advice of don't save the curse words in your dictionary because it's better to have that come out as an untran than to have the F word pop up when you don't mean for it to.
Correct.
You're trying to write like functional or, you know, who knows.
Right.
And then,
or if you can.
Yeah. Or if you can, you're right. If you can. So I guess a weird way of writing it or not save it or, you know, people
like make sure it has an asterisk for the.
Yeah. So you can't accidentally call them a see you next Tuesday or whatever. Which I think people would know is an accident. But yeah, of course, like those are the moments that, you know, you turn red in your seat.
You get hot and yeah.
See, the trick for me is when all of that's happening and then you still have to be on the record. It's another level of multitasking.
That's true.
You're hearing, you're writing, you're taking the record while you're also watching your real time, while you're realizing that was a mistake and then you're fixing that, but you're still writing what's happening. And then now they're yelling and now I'm stressed out and I messed up, but I think I psych myself out in thinking about how that all happens at once. But yet in every day in every job, we're dealing with unexpected stuff. And like, I'm not scared of that part anymore. So I don't know why people seeing it seems so much scarier.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, you'll get
on
there.
the path.
It's good.
I will.
Good.
I feel like I'll know when it's time, you know, rather than try to force it
Totally.
and be out of my depth and have some sort of implosion on, you know, I would hate for like the record to be in jeopardy because of my own nerves or pushing myself too fast or something. So I feel like the time is coming.
Yeah. That's a really good perspective. I mean, the record is the most important. Yes. So what made me the most nervous about Realtime was actually all the tech. So when I started Realtime a million years ago, we had cords and it was like these telephone jacks with a router. It was crazy.
That's right. I've heard of such things.
Yes. I still have a set because I had one attorney who a couple years ago wanted the old school. He did not want the internet version. I don't know. So I actually rebought it, if you can imagine that. I actually spent money on this kit because this one guy wanted it, whatever.
Wow.
But it was the whole, like how you set up your Realtime to yourself.
Yeah.
If you ever have to change that, like get a new machine or change the port and you have the COM port or you have to assign it, you have to do that every time. And sometimes it would change and you'd have to troubleshoot and device manager and the adapter, and the attorney doesn't have the drive for the adapter. Oh,
you need like a tech person just to help with the Realtime.
Yes. So now it is insanely easy comparatively, although it still has glitches every now and then, which makes me nervous. But yeah, now it's like, well, you have control because it's your device typically.
Sending it out to them.
To your own device. Like if you bring
I see,
your
like
iPad, you already have it paired, you have it whatever, synced, you know what to do. So it's nice. You don't have to rely on the attorney's computer behaving or whatever, aside from court, because judges, whatever, that's a whole separate thing. But
that's true. You plug in for the judge, right?
Yeah. But anyway, so it's funny because that was the thing that gave me heartburn, like, the tech, not necessarily the untranslate stuff. So it's interesting. There's a couple different facets to it that definitely can throw us for a loop. But
yeah, that it definitely adds like more homework to the job. Like there's more stress about things going wrong or things not connecting, and then the homework as in preparing your briefs or knowing the spellings and stuff like that.
Oh, that too. Yeah, I was thinking. See, I'm on tech. I'm thinking, are my devices charged?
Like that too. Yeah, and then you people have a whole separate bag just for the iPads or whatever, or the internet hub. It's like a whole another level of needing to set up and be ready to go. Yeah. Which I'm just slowly wading into and trying to acquire things as I go along. So when the time comes, it's not needing to invest in, like a whole new realm of things.
Right.
But yeah, it definitely is part of it. I hadn't even thought about.
Sorry, not to give you more to worry about. My bad.
I think you just have to master one part at a time, Like
totally.
My machine and my laptop are always charged. So now add an iPad to it
totally.
Or whatever comes next.
Well, you know what's interesting too? If I have to drop, I mean, I don't want to admit that occasionally we have to drop, right? But selective dropping is really important, even more so in real time. Or if, like, let's say I'm trailing, I'm a sentence behind, and I'm typing what they're saying, and I heard the word, but then it went out my head, right?
Yeah.
But I know what it meant, and so if they said Excel, or if they said spreadsheet, or if they said Google Sheet, I can't remember. So I just write spreadsheet. So at least the sentence makes sense for the attorney on
who's reading
real
it.
time. Yeah. But to your point, that's another thing to manage and worry about, I guess.
Yeah, it's a lot of multitasking. It's a lot happening in your head. I realized that when I just started trying to like edit on the job, and paying more attention to real teaming for myself. Because when I first started, I think I had untranslates a lot more often and just didn't have as much saved with the formatting in it, and it was unrealistic to try and edit while I was working, because when I was new, so I was still like hanging on every word, and two, there was just too much to fix. And then as you write cleaner, the like one glaring mistake on the page stands out to you. So then I remember when I was shadowing you, like you would take a second and reach up and fix it, and I was like, how does she even keep all that in her brain? So I think we're obviously capable of it, but it makes sense to me that we don't start at real time. Like there's so much happening other than just writing what you're hearing,
Exactly.
Yeah. I look forward to it though, because we haven't touched on how that's also the next frontier in income.
Yes.
That's
yes.
why, that's what makes it all worth it. Like your own skill is good. And I think you have really good confidence in yourself and what you're able to do.
Right.
Like I feel like I would be invincible once I can do real time, like to anyone, anytime about anything. Like I have so much respect for captioners and people who do that. But what makes all that challenge worth it and what motivates all that growth is you get to charge per real-time connection, and it's still the same words and the same transcript, but you get all those extra add-ons because it's a very valuable skill that they're requesting from you.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. That definitely is keeping it a goal.
Yeah. And it's like getting another copy because you're per page. So if it's another like $1.50 a page or so, that it really does make it worth it.
Exactly.
And I'm glad that you touched on you're thinking about it and you're intentionally improving your writing as you go.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, when you have a screen in front of somebody, you are on your game. You're not like texting or like thinking about groceries. Like you're in it. And so I write so much better, which actually improves everything. It makes for a cleaner rough at the end, and it makes for less editing time.
Yeah, and that's how you produce an expedite next day or in one day, or a rough within an hour of the job ending.
Yeah.
Because it was all so clean to begin with. Like it all just goes together. And I remember thinking, how in the world do people like work like that? And then it's all just a big domino effect. And I think it all starts with the best writing you can possibly have.
Yeah.
Because even with just sending stuff to my scopist, like there's less chance of anyone messing anything up along the way if I had it right to begin with. And then it's not even something they're like looking at as flagged as, could this possibly have a typo or, miss a word or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess I hold myself accountable to everything. Like I'm the sun, me and my writing are the sun that everything else revolves around.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Cause it's, there's no way I could have given somebody a rough draft the same night, in the first few months, cause that was just too overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I remember doing the math, and when you're in school, you have, I think they've changed it since to 2.5 hours. I had 3 hours to do my CSR, which is a 10-minute dictation. So we're talking about like under 15 pages, right?
Yeah.
So just to make it simple, if it takes you that whole 3 hours to do the 10 pages, and then you apply that to an actual job, like say you walk away with 100 pages that day from a half-day job, is that now 30 hours on the back end to edit that? And for me, it was in the beginning, right? Like everything took so much longer. But you're able to improve that time slowly and steadily with better writing and getting to know your punctuation styles, or like you question less as you're proofreading, so on and so forth. But yeah, like you're the little sun, and what you can offer and what you can deliver and how much money you can make all are connected to that starting point.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned, I get asked a lot as a firm owner, as a mentor, whatever, how do you, where do you start with your rates, and how much do they go up over time? And I realized they don't go up that much. Like the difference between a brand new reporter rate and a 35-year veteran, it's, I don't know, maybe 50 cents a page. It's not that much. But what makes the difference is how efficient you are and how many jobs you can keep taking, because now all you have to do is skim, or because you've hired a scopist now and you can move on to the next.
Yes, exactly.
That's where your pay raises come.
Yes, no, that's so true, because the time on the back end, right? Like I never actually track what I make hourly. I know some reporters who like to do that, but I don't know. To me, we're paid by the page. It just doesn't make sense to track my hourly. And again, it depends on the job, because you could have the same job that pays you X amount, and then all of a sudden you get roughs and expedites, and now your hourly just went up a whole bunch, right? So I get why people look at it that way, but it's kind of different with the way we do our work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. You can have the same base rate, but if you're not able to take on 4 days a week that are all 10 to 5 and hundreds of pages and all potentially want these extra things added to it, that's a very different workload and income than someone who just wants, like a 10 to 1 workers comp or whatever, which it's fine however you choose. That's also what I love about our career. You can, even from week to week, you can, have the type of schedule or style of cases or whatnot that you want. But yeah, it ties into it. It's not so much that you have to nickel and dime your page rate. It's that you just are capable of doing more. And because you can do more, you're worth more. And each thing you can do is another line item that you get to charge for. Like, I love that how hard we work directly correlates to how we get paid.
Yeah.
It's not a salary. It's not where you can just phone it in and, you know, for better or for worse, right? In office space, there's some quote that it's, I don't see another dime if I work harder for Initech and, you know, make them make more money. Where's my motivation, Bobs? You know, when he has the meeting with the Bobs, like where's the motivation, you know? And they go, you know, we like this guy. He's got a good point. But anyway, that's one of my favorite movies. But it's true. And our career, like, that doesn't apply to it. I just said this to a student yesterday who was shadowing me. Like, if they want it faster, if they want X, Y, and Z, they want more, then I get to make more. Yeah. If they want to go past 5, that's a longer, harder day. But guess what? Now I'm charging hourly because we're outside of business hours. Like, the harder you work correlates to actually what you're making. And that is a really, really cool part of our job.
That helps me have a better attitude about it. Okay, we're going to be here till 8, but hey, at least I'm,
Yeah, at least, you know, it's after 8, so I'm getting a lot of pages.
Yeah.
They might want to, you know, the bigger the jobs are that require real time or expedites or whatever, you know, they tend to pile on.
And that's where it's a weird meld of, it's almost like your own business. I mean, it is your own business, but you're working for other people. Yeah, it's a funny mix. So looking back, to kind of wrap things up in a bow, have you been happy that you became a reporter?
So happy.
Was it? Yeah.
Yes. I hope I can do this forever and ever. I genuinely really love it. I think a lot of different facets of my personality and my education and my work history, everything just really like fell into place when I found court reporting. And I really love it. And sometimes proofreading can be boring and you're sick of sitting there, but for the most part, every day is different. And I like that I still have goals to work towards and things that are challenging me.
Yep.
And when I left teaching, I realized it was because the challenges I was coming across weren't really areas I was like interested in taking that challenge on or growing. You know, like if it's an adult student who didn't want to respect me, like that's not really a fight I want to fight. You know, like I had grown in the ways that I thought benefited me and I was ready to leave for other reasons. And, you know, I was teaching English, which is the language I already speak. Like I had just kind of like hit my own personal glass ceiling, not in like business success, but just in what I was getting back from the job I was doing. It just felt redundant and like, I don't need to deal with this man's attitude. If you don't want to learn, then don't be here. I don't know. I just wasn't interested, you know? And court reporting gives me that sort of anonymity, and everybody in the room at that depot is responsible for themselves in the way that I'm not their teacher and, you know, I'm not grading them, but yet I still have the authority to like speak to them as an equal and stand up for the record. Like I like that balance of I am totally independent, but I have value, if that makes sense. Like I'm not in charge. I'm not the teacher. I didn't have to plan for this depot. Like I like that I'm disconnected, but also I play an integral part. Like there's just something cool about that. And it's a different position than I had ever been in before with being a teacher and my other jobs. And then the growth and how every day is different. And like, it's your skill, it's skill based, you know? So there's always room to grow, even if you feel like you're writing perfectly, or, you know, if you just place 9th in the nation, like Stephanie did in the Realtime competition, there's still always room to grow. And it's so motivational as well, having colleagues in the same position. Like everyone is unique and has independently achieved their certification and is their own business. And I could just go on and on. There's so many facets to this job that make me grateful that I'm in it.
Yeah. I love it too. And in 20 years in, I still love it.
Good.
And one thing that maybe we should tell our listeners, but I knew right away that I loved it. Did you find that?
Yes.
I wanted to make that clear because I think there's a fear, and maybe it's happened to some people that, you know, they get through all the hard schooling and fight so hard for it and then become a reporter and don't love it. But I've only heard that happening like once or twice ever. I feel like you kind of know right away, like, oh yeah, this is my jam, or it's not for me, you know?
I think so too. Yeah. I think it takes maybe a certain kind of person. And it's interesting though, because it works if you're more reserved or if you're more outgoing. Like there's strengths.
That's true.
Yeah, there's strengths and weaknesses for both of them. But I agree. I've hardly ever heard someone say, "Oh, I hated it when I 1st started." Usually, it's what you've been working towards and striving to achieve in school. Well, so it's exciting.
The really fun part to me is I feel like I have a backup plan and another backup plan, in that, first of all, even if I just stick with my machine and don't switch to voice, which is a whole other backup plan, but if I decide I don't love depots anymore, I can go to court, or I can go closed captioning and work from home and watch TV. Like I feel like there's enough variety even within our industry that I haven't even explored yet that I could pivot to if I needed to or wanted to.
I agree. You could go back to school and be a cart captioner.
That's true.
Yeah, there's different
for the hard of hearing students.
Yes, which I just was in a seminar. I think it was about Realtime in general, but one of the presenters started her career as cart. And so she said, depending on the different major of the students, it was challenging with all her different briefs and stuff, but really interesting. Yeah, because then you get to learn all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I want to thank you for coming, taking your time away from our busy schedules, and I hope we provided something for others to learn from. I had a great time chatting with you.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
This was fun.
All right. See you next time on Court Reporter Confidential. I don't know if that's how we're supposed to sign off, but that was fun.
That was really fun.
Easy.